It's Good Friday and Easter. It's time to make some delicious hot cross buns together. First, let's make the sweet starter. We're gonna mix 30 grams of a sourdough starter with 50 grams water, 15 grams sugar, and 100 grams of flour. And this is all-purpose flour. You can also use bread flour. Mix it together. You'll have to mix by hand as well, since it's a very thick starter. Let it sit 8 to 12 hours or overnight, and it'll become puffy and doubled in size, active, and ready to use in our dough. Now that our sweet starter is active, it's time to mix our dough. Place a bowl on the scale and tare it so the weight reads 0. Add your warmed milk, 30 grams brown sugar, and all of your sweet starter, or 180 grams, 100 grams of whole wheat flour, 300 grams all-purpose flour. Add the spices, orange zest, and let's give this mixture a stir. Once it starts to come together, it's time to put the bowl back on the scale and add the other ingredients. Add 1 egg, 7 grams salt, and 50 grams of orange juice. Continue to mix your dough until all the moisture is absorbed. Make sure you scrape down the sides so there's no dry flour anywhere. Once your dough is smooth and coming together, it's time to add the softened butter. So add it to your dough and fold it in. Continue to fold and knead your dough for 10 to 15 minutes by hand, or 3 to 8 minutes in a stand mixer on the lowest 2 speeds. Once your dough is smooth and has elasticity and no longer sticking to the bowl or your work surface, it's time to add those cranberries. Once you've finished kneading your dough, it's time to cover it and begin the bulk ferment for 3 to 5 hours at room temperature. To strengthen your dough, I recommend doing 1 stretch and fold during the bulk ferment. Now that our dough has fermented and has doubled in volume, it's time to divide it. Place the bulk of your dough on a scale. Divide that total weight by 12. Use that number to divide your dough so that each bun will be equal in size. Now it's time to shape our divided dough. Take a piece and flatten it by hand. Then take the edges and gather them into the center and pinch to seal. Turn it over onto the seam and then roll under your hand to form a round, tight bun shape. Place your shaped buns on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Cover your buns and proof at room temperature for 1.5 to 3 hours until doubled in size. Test the proofing of your dough. Take a moistened finger and gently press the dough. If it leaves an indentation, it's ready. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees and let's make the paste for the crosses. Mix together flour and water until you achieve the right piping consistency to fill our bag. Place all the flour paste mixture into a Ziploc bag and then press out the air and seal and cut off a tiny tip for piping. Now it's time to use our piping to put crosses on our buns. Make sure you go over the entire bun so that the cross goes from one end to the other. Now our buns are ready to go in the oven for 20 to 24 minutes. Once our buns are baked to a nice dark golden brown color, it's time to finish them with a sweet buttery glaze that we made during the baking time. Be generous and make sure your buns are completely coated with this mixture. I hope you enjoy this bake as much as we did. Happy Easter from Jenny at Living Bread Baker.